Don Carpenter on News Talk 1270 KIML.
News Talk 1270 KIML, Don Carpenter's show. And let's go to the phones. I believe we should have State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Cindy Hill, on the phones.
Hey, good morning, Don. How are you?
Good morning, Cindy. And I want to apologize. I went back and checked my email, and I sent you an email. I think it was on Thursday of last week, and I sent you the time, but you never confirmed it. So that was definitely on me. I apologize for that.
No problem, Don. I'm glad to be here and glad to hear your voice.
Thank you for taking a few minutes to talk to us today. I know it's been a busy couple weeks for you. So why don't you give us a little bit of an update on what you've been up to since the last time we talked?
Well, and I appreciate you working with me. You know, I don't have a secretary or a PIO, public relations officer, so sometimes it's hard to make those connections. But thanks for sticking with me and calling my cell phone. We'll always connect if you'll call that cell. For those who don't know my cell phone number, it's 286-0479, 286-0479. As you know, we do have a challenge in the Supreme Court. We have a case that will be heard August 20th. Our reply brief is due today. And we've been working on Teacher of the Year and various things that the legislative body gave to us with SF 104. It's pretty limited, but certainly we're still here. We're over in the Barrett Building in the museum. And we're waiting to see if the Supreme Court will decide that this is indeed unconstitutional, and we'll go from there. Meanwhile, you know that the Speaker of the House has determined that we'll do yet another investigation. And I'm wondering when the people are going to say, how long are we going to spend the taxpayers' money this way? Over $500,000 on investigations and audit after audit since I walked through the door. And they've actually been able to show nothing for it. Again, no misuse of money, even though they continue to allude to it in the newspapers. Of course, that sells papers. You know that for some folks. Most papers are good people, and they're journalists who are committed to their work. And so I salute all those journalists who are doing the important work of the state. But for those who continue to make a mockery of some of these things, I'm very critical. There was a report that came out recently, a 185-page report from the McPherson. There was nothing in it. Then they released documents. I think it was 1,863 pages of documents. You'll hear it was 5,000 pages, but that's reality. And again, nothing that McPherson had found important enough to put in her report. So again, I've been accused of everything but, being part of the Kennedy assassination. I was born in 1962, and I was not part of the Kennedy assassination, for anyone who's interested.
Well, I know we get started out on firearms a little bit early, but probably not quite that early. You mentioned some of the reports that came out last week. I guess they released a little bit more of the last investigation. Some of these accusations are just so strange and off the wall. I mean, what do you have to say about some of these things that were alleged in the reports that came out last week?
It's absurd, and I actually find it sad, because there are some people who have actually been sexually harassed in their workplace, and it's making a mockery of it. And I think people should take sexual harassment very seriously. And for this, next iteration of attacks, I just find it completely outrageous. And for those who know me, they know that my heart is tender. For those who have been sexually harassed in the workplace, I hope that you'll continue to speak up and always go and make certain that everyone who needs to know does know, and that you have the proper responses to those very serious acts. But for those who are participating in this, I say shame on you. It's inappropriate to be utilizing such a serious issue in a way that is being utilized right now for political purposes. And I look at the staff at WDE, and it does sadden me. I look at them and I think they have been used as political pawns here. And how unfortunate when we're all supposed to be focusing on the children. It's so important that we don't misuse people and that we don't mislead people. That's the real harm that's being done here. We need to take issues seriously. We need to be focused. We need to be committed. And this has just become way out of hand. And I'm very concerned about those who are leading and their continued actions. This next iteration of, again, investigations, it's not going to afford me due process again. They've had unfettered access to every document. I've been accused of misappropriating money since I walked through the door. If you look back in 2011, those first newspaper reports with Senator Coe and Senator Senator Nicholas speaking to she may have misappropriated funds. Well, for 2.5 years, there haven't been any misappropriations. And so I say to the people listening, if you're listening, always ask the specifics of anything. The most important thing here is that our scores have gone up for our kids for the last 2.5 years, 2 years for certain, in every grade level tested, every content area tested. Salute to your teachers, to your principals, to your leaders and your support staff, and to your community, your parents, for the hard work. And that's where we need to be focused. We've heard that, there needed to be an outcry, we need to reorganize. We now have a new director who has no educational background. It essentially would be like us sending Senator Coe to Arizona to run their educational system. I think that we've become way out of hand here, and I'm hoping that someone gets some sense about them and steps back and says, what are we going? Where are we going here? What's going on and why?
Sure. Would you mind, if I opened up the lines, would you mind taking a few calls?
Absolutely. I'd look forward to it.
Okay, 682-1270 is the number. 682-1270 is the number. While we wait for some calls to come in, with the legal challenge, how long do you expect this process to take with the Supreme Court?
Oh, there's no telling. I would like to think that it could be done before Christmas. The fact that they're hearing it, it makes it a huge difference that they're doing it as quickly as they are. They're going to be hearing it on August 20th in Cheyenne at 9 a.m. in the morning. So any of the callers or listeners, if you're planning on coming, I'd be there early because we suspect that a few people may be wanting to hear it. It's only an hour, and I think it's monumental. It's historical. So please, August 20th, put it on your calendar if you're curious. I think they're going to limit who will have access as far as media. So I can only imagine who will get access. And I would like to think that everyone would have access and everyone would get to know what's going on within the Supreme Court of Wyoming.
Oh, well, we'll absolutely cover it here. I don't know if we'll be able to send anybody down to listen live, but we'll definitely cover it here. And of course, we'll probably talk to you afterwards as well to kind of get your feelings on what went on. So I think it'll be an interesting thing to kind of see. I mean, coming from the outside, it's an interesting process to see going on right now. But yeah, actually, we're actually up against the bottom of the hour break. Would you mind hanging on for a few minutes, and we'll come back and maybe take a few calls?
I look forward to it, Don. See you in a minute.
Okay, thanks a lot. And with that, we're going to take a short break. We'll be back with Cindy Hill, State Superintendent of Public Instruction, News Talk 1270, KIML, Don Carpenter Show. We'll be right back.
No crazy conspiracies. Just good local talk. Don Carpenter on News Talk 1270 KIML. You're listening to Don Carpenter on News Talk 1270 KIML. Call Don right now, 682-1270.
News Talk 1270 KIML, Don Carpenter Show. I want to thank you for joining us this morning. And let's go back to the phones. Cindy, are you still with us?
I am, Don.
Okay, I didn't mess up the phones for once. That's usually a good sign. I have a bad habit of dropping calls sometimes when I put people on hold. So
thank you for not dropping mine, Don.
Yeah, and thanks for sticking with us. And I guess one thing I did want to kind of backtrack to. And, of course, if anybody has any questions or comments for Cindy, 682-1270 is the number, 682-1270. I wanted to backtrack a little bit and go back to some of the sexual harassment accusations. Sure. I mean, where do you think those are coming from? I mean, it just seems so far out of left field. What do you think is the motivation behind it, and where they the people that are making the accusations, where it's coming from?
Holy cow, who would guess? I'd hate to speculate on that one. It's all been in left field. I think that we've done a really good job in office. Certainly I focus the staff, as they mentioned in the McPherson's report, on literacy and not asking teachers to leave the classroom to accomplish the tasks that we knew needed to be completed. But I will tell you, I know change is hard, but I would have no idea and would hate to speculate where such accusations would be coming from. But I do look forward to due process where we can ask those questions. I think that it is important that people have those questions asked. There's another one. I think, and again, I want to reiterate, when there is sexual harassment or any kind of harassment in any workplace, it's important that people go immediately to their HR director. And if they don't feel comfortable in going to that person, that they find someone that they are comfortable with. I think it's really questionable, suspect, that people didn't do that. The HR director for the state of Wyoming is Dean Fawcett, or he was. He's now actually the director for all of A&I, which is, another reflection of the kind of person he is. And anyone could have gone to Dean Fawcett or any of his staff at any point and should have if they really had concerns. That would have been the appropriate way to go. It's very difficult when someone makes accusations and you don't know about them and you have no way to answer them. So I would just say, wow, I wouldn't know what they were thinking.
Sure. And okay, looks like the calls are starting to come in. So let's go down the line here. Okay, let's try this one. Okay, let's see. There we go. Okay, I guess the phones are acting up again. 682-1270, 682-1270. If you have any questions for State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Cindy Hill. Let's talk a little bit. We'll kind of get off that subject for a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit, maybe what you have going on aside from the legal fight? I mean, what do you have going on with the office right now?
Well, we've got the October 15th report that we're preparing for the legislature. Again, it's a reflection as to where are we as far as our status in education in Wyoming. I'm very clear that this will not be a gotcha report. It's one that'll be reflective, hopefully, for the legislators to be able to look at their own policies and practices and make some decisions that are helpful to education. Teacher of the Year selections have just been made. Those kinds of things are happening. They're pretty administrative, bureaucratic. The anti-bullying grants are just going out. So these kinds of things are again very bureaucratic, things that don't necessarily have a lot to do with students. Certainly, rewarding teachers for their good practices is always important. So Teacher of the Year is important, and bullying grants are important, and this report is important. But again, it's bureaucratic in nature, so I'm just recognizing that.
Sure, and I guess you're kind of getting along with business as best you can, considering the limitations of the office now.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay.
Very limited.
Yeah. Okay. Let's try the phones again. Okay. News Talk 1270 KIML. You're on the air with Cindy Hill.
Let's try the phones again.
Okay. Okay.
News Talk 1270 KIML. You're on the air with Cindy Hill.
Okay, we're gonna do. Okay, I guess we're having a little bit of an issue with the phone, so you'll have to bear with us there.
No problem. You had mentioned regarding the report. You wanted me to speculate, and I couldn't on what people are thinking, and I would never. I do want to mention to anyone who hasn't read the 185-page McPherson report, please do. And then if you have a chance to look at the 1,863 attached documents, many of which are ours, please do. Many of them reflect the practices that were questionable, as an understatement, that I ended. So please take a look at all those important documents and the report. If you'll see on page 4 of the 185-page report, and again, this is $150,000 that was appropriated to pay for this one. That's about just over $800 a page. What I would say to you in that report is on page 4, it essentially indicates that the staff at the WDE, their names would not be used, that they would use numbers in place of names. And so that's why my heart actually goes out, and some people say that shouldn't. But only 8 or 10 people really were at the crux of that, the complaints of those reports. And so I would say take a look at those. Know that they didn't think their names were going to be used, and then they were. And so some people will do things when they think they have anonymity, and I understand that. I've worked with kids and people my entire life, and I get that. So that, I would say, is something to consider. But please, if you want to know how to get that report, you can call me at 286-0479, or you can find a link at the Department of Audit for the state.
So when you have your oral arguments on August 20th, have any groups filed amicus briefs for you or anything like that? I'm not sure exactly how the process goes around here, but I mean, are there any groups that are kind of helping you out with this?
We have actually 2 citizens, Carrie and Clara Powers, who filed this suit with me, and they're representing the people. Carrie and Clara Powers are extraordinary, and we're willing to step up because, as you know, anytime you step up against, as some people have said, the machine in Wyoming, the political machine, it can be a difficult thing. And so I salute them and all those who have supported this effort. I salute Jennifer Young, who led the referendum with 563 sponsors, and did it in a short amount of time. Nearly 22,000 people signed on. And again, you know, Jennifer had filed suit regarding the extensive amount of time that it took to merely print the petitions. 2 weeks to print the petitions, which took critical time away from the effort. So there's some really courageous people throughout Wyoming, and I'm sure some are listening right now, and I say, you know, just stay strong, keep doing the right thing. Some people said to me, we're with you, but we have to be silent. There's a lot of fear in Wyoming because there is such a machine here at work. And I'm courageous enough to say it out loud on radio. I don't think it's a mystery. I think people know how things work.
Oh yeah, and I mean I've heard stories already. I guess the one last thing I kind of wanted to ask you is, and this is kind of looking to the future. I mean, how's the planning for the run for governor coming along?
Well, this is what I would say to you. SF 104 really was about federalizing education in Wyoming. I stood between that train from D.C. coming into Wyoming. What I didn't realize is that the conductor and some of the engineers on that plane were actually legislators in Wyoming, Senate, and House of Representatives. And so I would say SF 104, right after it was signed, our governor flew out to D.C. and began committing us to more federal regulations. The good Senator Senator Enzi let me know that I could share with all of you that he also has been opposed to that waiver, just as I was for the 2 years that we did not sign up for that waiver because it comes with more federal regulations, and he doesn't believe that President Obama has the authority to provide a waiver with more federal regulations. After I came out and shared that on radio, a few days later, the governor, our current governor, said that he would pause or put that on hold for a year. That'll get him through the primary. And I would say to you that regarding this latest investigation, they'll have to impeach me or they'll have to kill me. Otherwise, I'm running for governor of this state.
Well, let's hope it doesn't come to either of those.
Well, they might be considering both, and we're very clear that they're considering the first. But I, as you know, have announced that I'm running for governor, and we'll talk more about that as I'm not in my official duty as a superintendent. But today I am, and I'd like to say that federalizing education in Wyoming is not in the best interest of our kids. And I can give you an example after example after example of what I've done that I just realized when the governor flew out to D.C. and committed us to that waiver, which, again, committed us to more requirements. That's when it illuminated what this is really all about. You just don't do those things.
Okay, and that's I think that's actually a good place to kind of end things. I want to thank you, and thanks a lot for bearing with the phone problems and everything else. And we'll talk to you again sometime soon. I'll probably get a hold of you right around the time that you go to court, just to kind of get an update, and then we'll kind of play it by ear from there. So I want to thank you.
Let's get it on the calendar, shall we?
Absolutely. I'll shoot you an email, and we'll figure something out.
Thank you so much, Don. And for all those who are listening, thank you for taking the time today.
Yep, thanks a lot. There you go. Cindy Hill, State Superintendent of Public Instruction. It's always great to have her on the show. News Talk 1270, KIML, Don Carpenter Show. We'll be right back.
For the latest on the show, follow Don on Twitter @TheDonCarpenter. News Talk 1270, KIML.